jets and warships have simulated strikes on Taiwan.
对日方近期的军事安全动向严重关切。
China has summoned the Japanese ambassador over comments made by his Prime Minister on Taiwan.
If there is a confrontation over Taiwan between China and the United States, there is no way that the Philippines can stay out of it, simply because of our physical geographic location.
What if China tried to cut off Taiwan's sea lanes tomorrow? Or even launched a full-scale invasion? Could Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines realistically stop Beijing? Or would they be dragged into a high-stakes showdown with global consequences? The Taiwan Strait has become a powder keg. China is rapidly modernizing its navy, missile forces, and gray zone tactics, while Tokyo, Seoul, and Manila quietly ramp up defenses, deepen alliances, and sharpen their military edge. History offers a chilling parallel. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, a small island became the center of the world's attention, where the US and USSR came dangerously close to war, showing how geography, alliances, and readiness can tip the balance between deterrence and disaster. Today, the Indo-Pacific faces a similar test. Let's break down the geography, military capabilities, alliances, and operational realities to explore whether these three nations can impose enough cost to deter China, or if the region is on the brink of a crisis that could spiral far beyond Taiwan. Taiwan sits at the center of regional tension because it's a thriving democracy, a global chip hub, and a gateway to vital sea lanes. All reasons China sees reunification or coercion as essential.
也是台湾光复80周年。日方若不深刻汲取历史教训，胆敢铤而走险，甚至武力介入台海局势，必将在中国人民解放军的铜墙铁壁面前碰得头破血流，付出惨痛代价。
And with Beijing ramping up naval patrols, air sorties, and gray zone pressure throughout 2024-25, the possibility of a real crisis has become far more believable. What if China suddenly tried to blockade Taiwan, or even launch a full-scale invasion? Could anyone stop it? How would Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines respond if the Strait became a flashpoint overnight? Let's break down the scenarios that could push the region to the brink of war. The most likely near-term scenario is a coercive blockade, where China uses its Navy, Coast Guard, and maritime militia to tighten an air-sea cordon around Taiwan without launching a full invasion. In response, Japan and the Philippines would move to protect key sea routes. South Korea might support from the sidelines with submarines and intelligence, and the US would ramp up surveillance and logistics. This would create a tense standoff marked by escorted supply runs, rising diplomatic pressure, and major economic disruptions, but still stop short of an all-out attack. In a second scenario, China carries out limited missile strikes on Taiwan's critical infrastructure, such as ports and radar sites, while grabbing nearby maritime features. Japan would likely step in with missile defense and might even intercept or answer attacks, while South Korea contributes intelligence and undersea deterrence. The Philippines would support through basing access and enhanced monitoring. This kind of move could act as a sharp warning shot or a carefully staged step toward more serious coercion.
Do not be content with securing just the northern hemisphere up to Mavulis Island. Start planning for actions in case there is an invasion of Taiwan.
In the most extreme scenario, China launches a full-scale invasion of Taiwan, combining amphibious landings with heavy air, sea, and missile support. Japan would project its naval and missile forces forward. South Korea would send submarines and maritime strike assets. and the Philippines would serve as a crucial rear area hub for logistics, intelligence, and base access. This is the highest risk scenario, one that would almost certainly pull in U.S. forces, widen the conflict, and put the strength of regional alliances to the ultimate test. South Korea is rapidly emerging as a major defense heavyweight, driven by fast industrial growth and increasingly ambitious naval plans. Its armed forces are large, well-funded, and backed by a defense budget that continues to climb sharply. Between 2021 and 2025, Seoul invested over $200 billion into defense, with more increases planned for 2025-26. This money is fueling advanced shipbuilding programs, submarine expansion, including long-term interest in nuclear propulsion, and a wider modernization push aimed at strengthening South Korea's role in regional security. A key part of this buildup is the country's growing capability mix: modern surface combatants, a powerful submarine fleet, high-end missile and air defense systems, and sophisticated electronic warfare tools. South Korea's defense industry, led by giants like Hanwha and Hyundai, is capable of producing world-class platforms quickly and at scale, making Seoul a major contributor to any long-term regional denial strategy. Its KSS-3 Jongyeongsil-class submarines, equipped with vertical launch systems and advanced batteries, stand out as some of the most capable conventional submarines in Asia. Even so, South Korea faces practical limitations. It sits north of Taiwan, far from the front line compared to Japan or the Philippines, and it must always balance its commitments with the ongoing threat from North Korea. Sudden demands to surge forces southward during a Taiwan crisis could strain its logistics and industrial capacity. Still, its growing undersea force, advanced missiles, and cutting-edge shipbuilding gives Seoul strategic depth that makes it an essential, if sometimes underappreciated, part of the wider Indo-Pacific security architecture. By 2025, South Korea is also pushing hard into AI, unmanned systems, and next-generation military technologies. This shift aims to transform its armed forces into a more agile, smart force, enhancing everything from missile defense to multi-domain operations. With its rising budget, modern platforms, and booming defense industry, South Korea is becoming one of the most capable and technologically sophisticated players in the region, far more central to a potential Taiwan contingency than many analysts realize. Japan plays a central role in any Taiwan scenario because of its world-class navy, expanding defense budget, and prime geography just north of Taiwan. Its position near crucial choke points in the East China Sea gives Japan the natural ability to project surveillance, naval power, and reinforcement missions into the region. This is why analysts often call Japan the northern anchor of Indo-Pacific defense planning. With growing investments in unmanned systems, submarines, and long-range surveillance, Japan is steadily strengthening that role. Tokyo's modernization drive has only accelerated. In 2025, Japan approved a record 8.7 trillion yen defense budget to boost strike capability and missile defense, most notably by deploying US-made Tomahawk cruise missiles. Its navy is also expanding with next-generation Aegis-equipped destroyers, signaling a shift from defensive posture to a more forward, proactive presence. This allows Japan to sustain pressure on Chinese forces, defend key maritime corridors, and support allied operations across the region. Japan's high-end military ecosystem reinforces this momentum. It is integrating space-based sensors, unmanned platforms, and its maritime forces into a powerful ISR network for early warning and precision targeting. The shift away from the canceled Aegis Ashore program towards sea-based missile defense highlights Tokyo's focus on flexibility and mobility. Altogether, Japan has the capability to deny China control of vital waters, protect supply routes, and bolster allied logistics, all while expanding its defense industrial base. The Philippines sits in one of the most important locations in the entire Indo-Pacific, the southern gateway to Taiwan. Controlling the Luzon Strait, Manila's geography gives it enormous influence over any future blockade, resupply mission, or allied reinforcement effort. This makes the Philippines a natural staging point for logistics, surveillance, and forward operations in a Taiwan crisis, something no other regional partner can replicate. In recent years, the Philippines has taken real steps to strengthen its defense posture through the revised AFP Modernization Act. Its Navy and Air Force are gradually improving with newer patrol vessels, upgraded radars, drones, and stronger maritime domain awareness. The country's alliance structure is also deepening. The Reciprocal Access Agreement, RAA, with Japan, along with expanded EDCA access for the U.S., allows allied forces to train, rotate, and operate from Philippine bases, turning the archipelago into a flexible strategic platform. Despite these gains, Manila still faces major limitations. It lacks deep strike capability, has minimal anti-submarine warfare assets, and remains vulnerable to Chinese blockade pressure. Its modernization timeline also trails far behind China's rapid military growth. Even so, the Philippines' geography, alliance commitments, and improving capabilities give it outsized strategic value. In any Taiwan contingency, it would serve as a crucial deterrent partner, a logistics hub, and a frontline state that helps legitimize regional allied action. U.S. support acts as a major force multiplier for Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines, with American rotational forces, EDCA basing access, and advanced ISR and strike assets boosting their collective deterrence. Close intelligence sharing, joint surveillance, and expanded multilateral exercises allow the allies to detect and challenge any Chinese blockade or power projection, tightening their ability to operate together in real-world contingencies. In recent years, the US, Japan, and the Philippines have built a much stronger security partnership. Exercises like Sama-Sama 2025 show how these countries are now training together in ways that prepare them for real-world crises. The new Reciprocal Access Agreement, RAA, between Japan and the Philippines makes this cooperation even more formal, giving both sides the ability to rotate forces, train together, and share logistics. With the US providing major support, the three countries are forming a united front that can push back against Chinese pressure. The region's security network goes beyond just these three countries. South Korea is strengthening its own military posture with its three-axis deterrence system, while partnerships among the Quad members and even NATO countries are slowly expanding into Asia. This wider cooperation matters because, in a crisis like a Chinese blockade of Taiwan, several countries, including Japan, Australia, the Philippines, and some European allies, could take part in a coordinated naval response.
We're always prepared for eventualities and what may or may not happen to ensure we're strongly postured. And working with our partners in the Philippines, I think that's what you're referring to mostly. We've got lots of options and lots of capabilities in the region, but ultimately we're not going to reveal precisely what we may or may not do.
Still, these alliances face real limits. Japan continues to debate its constitutional restrictions and how far it can go in collective defense. South Korea must balance its desire for more military independence with the need to stay closely aligned with the US. And the Philippines has to weigh the risks of escalation with China against its economic and political interests. The overall message is clear. The regional alliance system is growing stronger, but it needs consistent political commitment and trust to hold together in a crisis. China's most likely move against Taiwan would be a naval blockade, since Taiwan depends heavily on ships for food and energy. In that scenario, Japan to the north and the Philippines to the south become extremely important. With US surveillance aircraft and Philippine bases, they can help keep supply routes open. South Korea's submarines and missile systems would also make Chinese naval operations much riskier. Together, their combined presence would force China to pay a high price for trying to cut Taiwan off. All of this only works if the region stays connected through strong radar, missile defense, and logistics. Japan's Aegis systems, South Korea's advanced sensors, and the Philippines' coastal radars create a shared early warning network, boosted by US intelligence. But the alliance also needs reliable bases and supplies to keep going in a long conflict. Japan and the Philippines can offer key logistics hubs, yet those bases could come under attack and resupply missions might be contested. Strengthening submarine production, building more destroyers, and stockpiling fuel and munitions will be essential to actually sustain any defense of Taiwan. Even with Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines becoming stronger, China still holds big advantages. Its massive industrial base lets it build ships, missiles, and submarines far faster than any country in the region. China also uses gray zone tactics, like Coast Guard intimidation and maritime militia, to pressure neighbors without starting a full war. On top of that, its anti-access missile systems and expanding carrier fleet make it harder for other countries to intervene. In a long conflict, China's ability to replace losses quickly gives it a major edge. But the countries working to counter China have their own internal limits. Japan is upgrading rapidly, yet political debates and its pacifist constitution slow things down. South Korea wants to build a powerful, independent military, but it has to juggle costs, its alliance with the US, and the risk of angering China. The Philippines, meanwhile, has neither submarines nor long-range missiles, and still relies heavily on its allies to defend its bases and coastline during a Taiwan crisis. All of this means one thing: the entire regional defense network depends heavily on the United States. Without strong US military presence, industrial power, and political commitment, the deterrence strategy weakens fast. Keeping this system stable would require not just joint planning, but serious long-term investment and shared risk, something that's tough for any group of countries to maintain during a major crisis. Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines each bring different strengths to a Taiwan crisis. But they also face major limits compared to China. Japan and the Philippines sit on opposite sides of Taiwan, giving them key geographic positions to support resupply routes, while South Korea adds submarine power and industrial capacity. Together, they offer advanced systems like submarines, missile defenses, and surveillance, while the Philippines provides bases and regional access for allies. But China still holds big advantages in sheer numbers: more ships, more missiles, more carriers, and a much larger production capacity. If a crisis erupts, China could choose from several options: a limited blockade to choke Taiwan's supplies, targeted assaults on key islands or ports, or a full-scale invasion that would require overwhelming air and sea control. Each scenario carries its own risks, but China's growing military power makes all of them increasingly plausible. In a Taiwan crisis, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines would respond in ways that play to their strengths. Japan would raise readiness, deploy its Navy and Air Force to patrol the northern approaches, and increase surveillance while supporting allied operations, possibly easing rules on collective defense. South Korea would push more submarines and surveillance assets from the north, boost munitions production, and coordinate closely with the US. Though it must be careful about provoking China or North Korea. The Philippines would focus on providing bases, resupply corridors, and coastal monitoring, using its Navy and Coast Guard to contest gray zone activity and rally multilateral support. Together, they would form a layered deterrent. Japan and South Korea provide advanced combat power and sustainment. The Philippines gives geographic access and legitimacy. And the US remains the central enabler, with allies like Australia, the UK, and NATO partners likely providing diplomatic, economic, and limited military support. In the shadow of China's growing military might, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines are no longer on the sidelines. Their geographic advantages, modernizing militaries, and alliance ties give them a credible role in deterring a Taiwan contingency. But deterrence will only hold if it's backed by real capabilities, continuous coordination, and political resolve. China still enjoys deep advantages in industrial capacity, missile stockpiles, and manpower. The alliance's challenge is to impose a cost structure that makes coercion or invasion unattractive. That means turning threats into deterrence through combined military strength, logistical readiness, and diplomatic unity. In essence, yes, they can deter, but only if they commit, invest, and coordinate like their very survival depends on it. And in an era where the balance of power is shifting, that commitment may very well be the difference between a cold standoff and a crisis uncontained. If you like the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for deep analysis of contemporary issues.